All right, folks, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, and it's panel time. I love the panel. I love the Friday panel most of all. You know why I love the Friday panel most of all? Because it's Friday. That's right. Joining us on the panel is our friend Christopher Hahn, the host of the Christopher Hahn Show, and also C. Edmund Wright, national columnist. He was also the communications director for the Bush Quayle 1992 presidential election campaign in the state of North Carolina. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Okay, great to have both of you. All right, let's start with what's dominating the mainstream media right now. They smell blood, they see an opportunity, and this is what they do. And I'd love to start with you, Chris. And what they're doing is, you know, there was an issue where Clive Bundy was had a problem, has a beef with the government over land. And because people like Rand Paul, Sean Hannity, and others came to his defense on that issue, and then subsequently Clive Bundy made some remarks that are racist and despicable, they're trying to say, the new question they put up there to subliminally make it sink in is, is this a problem for the entire Republican Party? They had the head of the RNC on CNN before, not the head, the communications director, and it's just insane that one thing should have anything to do with the other because a farmer made racist remarks.
Well, I don't think it's a problem for the entire party, but it is a problem for anybody who stood next to him. I mean, you should do your research before you back somebody. And, you know, look, I think what he said about African Americans was despicable, but what he said about the United States was even worse.
But
that's I don't know why anybody in their right mind would have ever been near him.
Well,
I find it crazy that my friend Sean Hannity was next to this guy and putting him on his air.
Well, I don't know what you would, Edmund. I don't know what they would expect people to do. Google him, and if you Googled him, you wouldn't get it. What would you get? The guy's a farmer. Would you get a history of past racist remarks? The whole thing is insane. I could point to Al Sharpton, who has called Greeks homos, who called David Dinkins, the first black mayor of New York, the N-word over and over, who called a white business owner in Harlem a white interloper, and everybody in the Democratic Party stands next to him. He's Barack Obama's best buddy.
Yeah, you know, Steve, the problem is Clive and Bundy, sorry about that. Clive and Bundy cannot put anybody in jail. He can't tax anybody. He can't regulate anybody. This is not about Clive and Bundy. This is about what is the BLM and why do they control 1/8 of the country? Why do they control 85% of Nevada? Why are they giving deals to Harry Reid's cronies? Why is one of Harry Reid's cronies running his own private army? Forget Clive and Bundy. He's irrelevant.
Wait. Let him finish. Go ahead, Edmund. Just finish up.
Yeah, I mean, Clive and Bundy and the pros and cons of Bundy was never the story. And shame on Sean Hannity and Rand Paul for falling for this. Shame on them.
Go ahead. You mean for apologizing? Is that what you're saying?
For apologizing, right? Because it was never about Bundy's racism or anything. It wasn't even about technically the real merits of his case. It's about why does our federal government own this much property that they can dole out for usages to their cronies? It's absurd.
All right, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
The federal government owns that much property in Nevada because Ronald Reagan signed a bill in 1986 that gave them perpetual authority over grazing rights on that land. Ronald Reagan, not Barack Obama, not even George H.W. Bush. Ronald Reagan, your patron saint. He's the one who did it. You got a problem with it? Talk to him.
I do. See this typical response, Steve. I mean, they want to make it personal.
Wait. Let him respond.
Wait.
Chris, let him respond. Chris, you made an accusation that I haven't heard yet. Let him respond.
First of all, assuming Chris is right about Reagan, that he signed it, that would not be what you would call Reagan-esque for him to do. The deal about Ronald Reagan is not every single thing he did. The deal about Ronald Reagan was his principle of limited government. This is not a limited government principle for the government to own 85% of Nevada and for one of Harry Reid's ex-little staffers to be running it, no doubt doling out favors everywhere. I mean, the BLM is the issue, not Clive and Bundy.
All right, and Christopher, I don't want to talk about the issue of the land issue. I just want to point out that the land issue is open for debate, whether it was Ronald Reagan who signed it, whether he did it to compromise with Tip O'Neill, because I know how the left always loves a good compromiser. But the fact of the matter is, to lump that together and try to put a black stain, if you will, or mark on the Republican Party, even those who supported him on his land issue, because he then went on to make racist statements. How do you do that?
Steve, look, there is no legitimate reason for anybody of sound mind to be supporting Mr. Bundy in any way, shape, or form, whether it was Reagan, whether it was Obama. He had to pay rent. He's been stealing from the taxpayers.
We're not talking about that issue. Let's move on from that issue.
I don't believe that the entire Republican Party is marred by anybody standing next to Ted Bundy. But I believe in the Bible, and the Bible says you will know them by the company you keep. And I got to tell you, some people have been standing next to them.
Really? Wait, all right, that's great. That's great. Say, Edmund, so Reverend Wright, Bill Ayers, Bernadine Dornan, Al Sharpton. I mean, let's go down the list. You want to judge people by the people they stand next to? My gosh, I'm all for it.
I think they are really trying to spin this whole BLM ranch issue, and of course, it's bleeding over now to Texas. By the time the 2014 midterms roll around, this will be about a federal land grab in Texas, and Attorney General Abbott and Governor Perry and Bundy will be a distant memory. So.
A federal land grab brought to you by Ronald Reagan. And you want to blame
That doesn't
O'Neill,
make it
go
right.
ahead. You blame
If
him.
Ronald
But
Reagan,
wait a minute. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. It was an executive order that ordered this perpetual grazing rights be paid to the federal government on federal land. An executive order by Ronald Reagan.
Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right.
But it is what it is. I mean, I'm tired of hearing people talk about how Harry Reid's responsible for this.
Harry Reid.
Whoa,
Wilson
I'll
Reagan.
tell you why.
All right, enough. Go ahead, Edmund, quickly, 30 seconds, quick.
The reason Harry Reid's responsible is his little staffer is now running the whole gig, has his own private army, and he's doling out friends to his cronies. Ronald Reagan didn't do that. Ronald Reagan didn't
All right, guys.
squad army.
Guys. Well, segment number 1 is over. We're going to come back, and we're going to switch to immigration. And I'm going to trash a Republican in a second, so get ready. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show with the panel. So don't you go away.
We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.